Everyone all set?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
You may.
Mr. Walsh, can you please stand? Mr. Walsh, do you wish to offer a change of plea on docket number 2382CR91002, which charges you with intimidation of a witness, juror, police, or court official, and 003, disinterment of a body? Do you wish to offer a change of plea from not guilty to guilty?
I do.
Could you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear to make true answers to such questions that should be put forth to you by the court, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Could you please take the witness stand?
Actually, you know what I'm going to, this is an odd configuration. I don't want counsel standing. So I'm going to let you stay right there, sir. You understand you're under oath?
I do.
All right. Why don't you be seated, and you can have the benefit of your counsel at the ready right there.
Okay.
Mr. Walsh, as you know, my name is Diane Freniere. I'm the judge that's presiding over this trial, and I'm an associate justice of the Superior Court in Massachusetts. I understand from your lawyers that you wish to change your plea to guilty to counts indictment 002 and in 003. And before I can accept that change of plea to guilty to those two indictments, I need to ask you some questions to make sure that your decision to plead guilty is made voluntarily and that you understand the consequences of pleading guilty to those two offenses. If at any time during the course of this colloquy you don't understand something that I am saying to you, just let me know by letting your attorneys know. Let them consult with you. And equally, if I don't understand something that you're saying to me, I'll ask for that further clarification. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Can you please state your full name, sir?
Brian Walsh.
All right. And Mr. Walsh, do you have any difficulty speaking or understanding English?
I do not, Your Honor.
How old are you, sir?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Sure, I'll try to get into this microphone. How old are you?
50.
And what's your exact date of birth?
January 31st, 1975.
Where were you born, sir?
Boston.
Are you married?
Yes.
Do you have any children?
Yes.
And what are their ages?
9, 6, and next month, Brian will be 5.
How far did you go in school?
College, some college.
And that was like a year and a half or 2 years.
Oh, yes.
And where did you go to school?
Carnegie Mellon,
What did you study?
business and computer science.
As an adult, have you had full-time employment?
I've had my own businesses,
And in what kind of businesses?
mostly consulting.
Okay. I need to ask you some personal questions. I'm going to ask you those questions now. Have you ever in the past been treated for any mental illnesses or conditions?
Yes.
Tell me about them.
Depression.
And are you aware of whether anything else other than depression?
That was the main thing.
All right. And are you presently aware of whether you have any mental illnesses or conditions, to include depression?
No.
Are you taking any medications?
No.
In the last 24 hours, have you taken any drugs, legal or illegal?
No.
In the last 24 hours, have you consumed any alcohol or alcoholic beverages?
No.
Is your mind clear here today?
Yes.
Tell me in your own words, sir, why are you here?
I'm here to plead guilty.
On those two counts?
Yes.
And you understand that your trial's starting today?
Yes.
On the first indictment? All right. To defense counsel, have you had any difficulty communicating with your client?
No.
No, Your Honor.
And do you believe that he has understood the advice that you've provided to him?
Yes, you do.
Same.
So at this time, I'm going to go over what's called the waiver of rights. And at the end of it, I'm going to give you the form back that I believe you signed earlier today. Do you understand, sir, that by pleading guilty that you're giving up your right to have a public, fair, and impartial trial as to each of the two indictments to which you're now pleading guilty, with or without a jury, to determine your guilt or innocence?
I do, Your Honor.
And do you understand that if you went to trial, you wouldn't have to prove anything? For example, you never have to take the stand to testify. You would never have to call any witnesses. No jury could ever hold it against you if you did not present any evidence at all. Instead, it is the Commonwealth that has the burden to prove you are guilty of each of the offenses and each element of those offenses beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand that?
I understand, yes.
You have the right to be tried by a jury of 12 people selected from your community, and you would have the right to participate in jury selection. You could not be found guilty unless the Commonwealth convinces all 12 jurors that you are guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and they unanimously agree you are guilty. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
You also have the right to be tried by a judge instead of a jury. And again, the judge couldn't find you guilty unless the Commonwealth presented evidence sufficient to convince the judge beyond a reasonable doubt that you are guilty of the charge. Do you understand?
Yes.
Do you understand that if you went to trial, you would have the right to confront your accusers and any other witnesses that may testify against you by facing them and having your attorneys ask questions of them?
Yes, Your Honor.
And do you understand that if you went to trial, you would have the right to call your own witnesses, present your own evidence, and if you wished, even testify on your own behalf? Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty here today, you're giving up your right to pursue any arguments or motions that your attorneys may have made or filed on your behalf in this case, and that may include motions to dismiss and motions to suppress, as well as your right to appeal any rulings or decisions that the court may have already made in this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you willing to give up each of those rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
Pass that to the defendant. Sir, if had the court officer pass to you defendant's waiver of rights, have you seen that form before?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you read that document or have someone read it to you?
Yes, Your Honor, I read it.
Have you reviewed it with your attorneys? Do you understand it? Do you understand what's contained on the waiver of rights form?
I do, Your Honor.
You understand that that form sets forth in writing what you and I have just been discussing a moment ago in terms of your willingness to waive your constitutional and statutory rights and plead guilty to the two indictments.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that your signature at the end of the document?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you sign that voluntarily?
Yes, Your Honor, I have signed it voluntarily.
By signing that form, you're confirming to me, sir, in writing that you are aware of the rights explained on the form, that you understand them, and that you voluntarily waive them. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you understand, sir, that you are pleading guilty to the following two indictments? Indictment 002, which charges willfully misleading a police investigation, a criminal investigation, in violation of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 268, Section 13B, and in Indictment 003, you are pleading guilty to, while not being lawfully authorized by proper authorities, willfully conveying away a human body or the remains thereof in violation of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 272, Section 71. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And have you talked to your attorneys about each of these two indictments?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has counsel explained the elements of each of those two indictments that the Commonwealth would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand each indictment?
I'm sorry, what did you?
Do you understand each indictment?
Yes, Your Honor.
And to defense counsel, have you explained the elements of each of the two offenses to your client?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm going to ask that the assistant of the Commonwealth, whoever wishes to do it, would tell me what the maximum and minimum sentences are. And I don't believe there are any mandatory minimum sentences, but you can tell me if there are.
There are no mandatory minimum sentences, Your Honor. The maximum sentence on count 2 is 10 years unless the investigation is into a capital offense, and then it is a 20-year sentencing enhancement, up to 20 years. On count 3, it is up to 3 years in state prison.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh, did you hear the maximum possible sentences for the charges that the Commonwealth just recited?
Yes, Your Honor.
And do you understand those maximum potential offense charges, sentences?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that I have the authority to impose consecutive sentences on indictments, meaning, for example, that the sentence on the second indictment would begin only after you completed your sentence on the first indictment?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that if I impose a period of probation, you will be subject to the terms and conditions imposed, including not committing any other crimes and reporting to your probation officer?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you should later be found in violation of any of the terms or conditions of your probation, a judge could sentence you up to the maximum penalty allowable by law for any of the charges on which you have been found in violation of probation, and would be required to sentence you to any mandatory minimum penalty required by the law.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand what I just explained?
Yes.
Pleading guilty has certain implications for you, and I'm going to go over those implications with you now. First is DNA testing. By pleading guilty to these two indictments, you will be required by law to submit a sample of your blood, hair, and/or saliva, and that sample will become part of the Massachusetts DNA database. You will be required to pay for the cost of collecting, preparing, and processing that sample unless you are determined to be indigent, and failure to comply with this law will subject you to separate criminal penalties. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you still willing to plead guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
I know earlier in the colloquy this morning you told me that you were born in Boston, and I have no reason to doubt that. But the law mandates that I give you warnings with regard to immigration consequences, and I'm going to give you those immigration consequences now. If you are not a citizen of the United States, you are hereby advised that my acceptance of your guilty plea may have the consequence of deportation, exclusion from admission to the United States, and denial of your naturalization request, all pursuant to the federal laws. Further, if the offense to which you are pleading guilty is under federal law, one that presumptively mandates removal from the United States, and federal officials seek your removal, it's practically inevitable that this conviction will result in deportation, exclusion from admission to the United States, and or denial of your naturalization request, again, under those federal laws. Do you understand what I just said?
Yes.
Has your attorney advised you of these consequences if you are not a citizen of the United States?
Yes, Your Honor.
And understanding that, do you still wish to plead guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because the sentence for count number 2 could be a sentence, a state prison sentence of 3 or more years, I'm now going to give you what's called the habitual offender law warning, which I'm required to give you. Here it is. If at some time in the future you are convicted or plead guilty to a third or subsequent offense that is within the category of offenses covered by the statute, then 1, you may be imprisoned in state prison for the maximum term provided by law for such third or subsequent offense. 2, your sentence could not be reduced or suspended. And 3, you may be ineligible for probation, parole, work release, or furlough, or to receive any deduction in the sentence for good conduct. Do you understand what I just said?
Yes, Your Honor.
And understanding what I've advised you with regard to these sentencing consequences, are you still willing to plead guilty to the 2 charges?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I'm now going to ask the Assistant District Attorney to summarize the evidence that would have been presented against you by the Commonwealth if you went to trial in this case. And I'm going to ask, sir, that you listen carefully, because when the ADA is finished, I'm going to ask you some questions about the facts that the ADA has stated.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, regarding count 002, misleading police in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 268, Section 13B, on or about or in between January 1st to January 8th, 2023, Mr. Walsh did willfully mislead police officers with the intent to impede, obstruct, delay, prevent, and otherwise interfere with the criminal investigation into the disappearance and murder of Ana Walshe. The defendant first misled the Cohasset police in the morning of January 4th, 2023, when after he had reported his wife Ana Walshe missing, he stated to a Cohasset police officer that Ana Walshe had left the Walsh residence at 516 Chief Justice Cushing Highway in Cohasset on the morning of January 1st, 2023, by taking an Uber or Lyft to Logan Airport when returning to Washington, D.C. for a work emergency. The defendant then continued to mislead police officers when he made additional false statements about Ana Walshe being alive and voluntarily leaving the Walsh residence, as well as when he detailed his whereabouts on January 1st, 2023, to Cohasset police and Massachusetts State police officers. The defendant continued to make false statements when the police officers from these agencies met with him, including on the evening of January 4th, on January 5th, January 7th, and January 8th. In January of 2023, the Cohasset Police Department had approximately 20 full-time police officers, including 2 detectives. The Cohasset Police devoted all available resources in an attempt to find Ana Walshe. They requested assistance from other departments and agencies. And on January 6th, the chief of the Cohasset Police Department conducted a press conference seeking help in locating Ana Walshe. As a result of the defendant's false and misleading statements, law enforcement agencies and police officers took many actions which had a heavy financial and emotional cost. These included the Cohasset Fire Department searching a swimming pool at the Walsh residence, teams of police officers from multiple agencies and departments, including a K-9 teams participating in large-scale canvass of the area around the Walsh residence during inclement weather. D.C. Metro Police attempted to locate Ana Walshe in Washington, D.C., and Massachusetts police officers, including Cohasset Police, Massachusetts State Police detectives, and other units from Massachusetts State Police, traveled to Washington to search for Ana Walshe in a result of the defendant's false statements. The defendant's conduct was willful. His statements impeded, obstructed, delayed, and otherwise interfered with the criminal investigation, and the delays resulted in the contents of dumpsters in which the defendant had disposed of Ana Walshe's remains being incinerated.
Why don't you pause there? We'll deal with count 1 and, count 2, and then we'll go to count 3.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right? So, Mr. Walsh, did you hear what the Assistant District Attorney just said with regard to the statement of the offense conduct for indictment 002, misleading police?
Your Honor, if I may, Mr. Walsh is prepared to admit to the recitation of facts with respect to the indictment that the government just read, insofar as it alleges he did impede and obstruct the criminal investigation into the disappearance of Ana Walshe. We obviously object, and he's not admitting to and murder. The second portion of the facts that the government just read that we would take issue with is the last sentence, and the delays resulted in the contents of the dumpsters into which the defendant had deposited Ana Walshe remains being incinerated. Insofar as the rest of the facts, he's prepared to admit.
All right. Mr. Walsh, you just heard what Attorney Porges said, sort of the insofar as. It's another way of saying it limited to this. And you heard what your counsel just said. Understanding those limitations as just articulated by your counsel, did you do or join others in doing those acts?
Yes.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty that you're admitting to the facts described as revised by your counsel are true?
Yes.
Are they?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh, did you in fact willfully mislead various law enforcement to include members of the Cohasset Police Department and the Massachusetts State Police with the intent to impede or interfere with a criminal investigation of Ana Walshe's disappearance?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Moving to indictment number 3.
Thank you, Your Honor. Willfully conveying a human body in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 272, Section 71. On or about and in between January 1st and January 8th, 2023, the defendant Brian Walsh willfully conveyed away the body of Ana Walshe, or the remains thereof, from the Walsh residence at 516 Chief Justice Cushing Highway in Cohasset by conveying and disposing of Ana Walsh's body without a license or lawful authority, or the remains thereof, into dumpsters and or garbage receptacles in eastern Massachusetts. The defendant's actions were willful. Ana Walshe was not a stranger to the defendant. She was the defendant's wife and mother of his 3 young children. The defendant conducted internet searches into disposal of the body, researched locations of dumpsters, and then traveled to those locations. In disposing of the body of Ana Walshe, the defendant did not comply with the law.
Thank you. Sir, did you hear what the Commonwealth just alleged it would prove the case went to trial with regard to indictment number 3?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you do those things or join others in doing those acts?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty to today, you are admitting the facts described just now by ADA Connor?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Walsh, did you in fact willfully remove or convey the body of Ana Walshe or her remains, not being lawfully authorized to do so?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you now plead guilty to these indictments willingly and voluntarily?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has anyone threatened you or forced you in any way to plead guilty to these 2 indictments?
No, Your Honor.
Has anyone promised you anything in return for your plea of guilty to these 2 indictments other than the terms of the plea agreement that we discussed? Excuse me, there's no plea agreement. That's what happens when you keep reading from the book, and you shouldn't. Has anyone promised you anything in return for your plea of guilty to these 2 indictments?
No, Your Honor.
Have you had enough time to discuss your rights, your case, your defenses, and the possible consequences of your guilty plea with your attorney?
Yes, Your Honor.
And do you feel that Attorney Tipton and Attorney Porges have acted in your best interest, that he and she have fully, fairly, and adequately represented you in this case?
Yes.
Are you confused in any way by any of the questions I've asked you today?
No, Your Honor.
As I understand it then, sir, you're pleading guilty to these 2 indictments because you wish to plead guilty because you are guilty. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Counsel, do you know, defense counsel first, do you know of any reason why I should not accept your client's guilty plea?
I do not, Judge.
Same question to the Commonwealth.
Your Honor, I'll be brief, but we had spoke, this is a non-negotiated plea with the Commonwealth, and we had some objections to it. But my concern was where the defendant equivocates on the factual basis that the Commonwealth read in, that is one reason you should not take it. And the second is this count 3 revolves around improper disposal of Ms. Walsh's remains. And the defendant, when asked his marriage status, said that he was married. And consequently, Your Honor, then that is not an accurate relaying of his current status to the court and could be invalidating the plea. So I believe he has to be asked that question again. And I believe that if he continues to say he's married, that he's negating facts of count 3.
All right, I'll give defense counsel an opportunity to speak with your client.
Your Honor, I apologize. I couldn't exactly hear what Mr. Connor's caveat was.
In response to one of the early questions I asked of the defendant, I asked him if he was married, and he said yes, he was. And the Commonwealth was raising the point that if that were true, that it might negate proof of the disinterment, which requires a human body or remains. Do you want to speak to your client about that?
A moment, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Respectfully, I don't see this as a relevant or material issue. If the court wants clarification, I'm happy to approach sidebar.
Why don't we do that? All right. So, Mr. Walsh, earlier today I asked you whether you were married, and you answered yes, you were married. Do you remember that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is it correct that you were married to Ana Walshe for a period of time,
Yes, Your Honor.
and that under the law, death extinguishes marriage? It may not religiously or otherwise, spiritually, but under the law, when someone dies or when someone is dead, you can no longer be married to them. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so are you married today?
Your Honor, if I may, insofar as previous discussions, for purposes of a successful plea colloquy and meeting the elements of the crime, he is acquiescing to the fact that lawfully he is not married today.
All right. You heard what your lawyer just said? Agree with what your lawyer just said?
Yes, Your Honor, I agree.
All right. Anything else that we need to cover?
No, Your Honor.
All right. To the extent that the Commonwealth is objecting to the taking of the plea on other grounds, that is overruled. My job here is to make sure that I have a valid plea, and that means that the defendant is pleading guilty to the elements that the Commonwealth would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And I have inquired sufficiently to assure myself that he has admitted to each of the elements of the two offenses of indictment 02 and 03. So I know we discussed at an earlier point the issue of victim notification, and I'll ask on the record now for the Commonwealth. Has the Commonwealth advised the victims of this case of the defendant's offer to change his plea to guilty?
Yes, we have notified the victims, Your Honor.
And based on our prior discussions, I understand that the victims may wish to address this court prior to any sentencing of the defendant.
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right. And both parties that we've talked about this have agreed that we're not going to be sentencing the defendant today on the indictments that he's now pleading guilty to, correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Attorney Tipton, Borges? All right. And we'll give the victims a reasonable opportunity to address the court before sentencing, of course.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You understand, Mr. Walsh, that at the time that we do get to sentencing, that by law, I'm not bound to any recommendation that's made by the prosecution or your lawyers. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that I may impose any sentence permitted by law up to the maximum allowable sentence.
Yes, Your Honor.
Having considered Mr. Walsh's criminal history, the government's proffered evidence, I will later consider the victim's statements to the court for matters for sentencing. I find that Mr. Walsh has met the requirements to tender a plea to counts 2 and to counts 3. I make the following findings. I find that the defendant is not presently under the influence of drugs or alcohol, and that he hasn't reported that he's not presently suffering from any mental illness or condition, and that he's not presently taking any medications. I find that the defendant understands the nature of the charges and the consequences of his pleading guilty. I find that the defendant's change of plea to guilty with respect to each of the two indictments, 02 and 03, is made knowingly, willingly, intelligently, and voluntarily, and with the full knowledge of its consequences. I find that the defendant's change of plea on these two indictments to guilty is made upon and with the advice of competent counsel, and I find there's a factual basis in the evidence as been summarized by the prosecution and limited by defense counsel on behalf of the defendant for each of the two indictments to which the defendant now pleads guilty accordingly I accept Mr. Walsh's plea of guilty as to indictments 002 and 003. Anything else that counsel that we need to do on the change of plea?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So let me turn to impanelment.